Okay, so this board came in with a pretty nasty gash. As you can see, a longboard fin went straight through the rail. It's not just a surface thing, but quite a proper damage right into the foam. So the first thing I'm going to do here is prep the area. I always like to start off by sanding everything back, removing any loose glass and cleaning out the brake. Once it's opened up and prepped, I like to tape off the section with masking tape. This just keeps the area neat and stops mess from spreading where it shouldn't. Okay, the next step is to pour in the expanding foam. I like to use expanding foam because I just find it easier to work with. Also, the way the ding was, I thought it would be a little bit more tricky to use actual foam from a surf blank. I haven't done that yet, so it's a bit of new territory, but this seems to do the trick. So in it goes, and then the key thing here is to be patient, which I'm not so good at, and just to leave it and let it be. So I left it for 24 hours just to make sure that it was cured properly, and then it's time to sand it to the original rail line. Okay, so now it's time to add the micro balloons and resin. This is now where things started to go wrong. I haven't done many repairs, but what I realized that I did wrong with this one is that I sanded the foam down flush with the board instead of leaving a mil or two, like a gap, a mil or two gap below the surface of the board. So when I put the micro balloons on and I sanded it down, it kept on chipping because it reached the foam. And then also the micro balloons ends up going this other weird brown color, which doesn't look nice, and it just keeps on chipping away. So I ended up having to do 3 layers of micro balloons, having to take down the area down completely, and then re-putting micro balloons, and it was a bit of a balls up. After 2 or 3 goes, it didn't look too bad. It actually turned out pretty good, which I was quite chuffed about. Yeah, so then after that, and after the air was nice and cleaned, I began to put on the resin and the fiberglass. So with all ding repairs, I normally put 2 layers of fiberglass on. As you can see, now I'm putting the first layer. I like to make sure it's all fitting great. For some reason, fiberglass likes to move a lot, and so I just like to make sure it's covering all the correct spaces before I put on the next layer. What I try and do is put the first layer on just over the repair, and then when I put the second layer on, I like to make it go probably about 1 centimeter or so past the actual repair. So it's sitting on the original board and not on the repair. Yeah, and it turned out pretty good. I was quite chuffed with how it turned out. There are a few things that came up when I started to paint, which I'll chat about now. As you can see, it turned out really good, and then it was time for the hot coat, or what other people would call your top coat or your final coat. I like to mix waxel into this top coat because it makes it easier to sand. Okay, so now this is where things start to get very, very, very interesting. I cut some corners, which I shouldn't have cut, and I paid the price. So I finished sanding the board, and it was looking great, and I decided to put spray paint on. Initially, everything looked good. I put all the spray paint on, and it looked great. And then I saw I had rushed my sanding, and there was quite a wave in the repair between the fiberglass, between the normal board, the fiberglass, and the repair, and it was like this weird bump. And I thought it would go away with with spray painting it, but it exemplified it immensely. And I decided that I wasn't happy and that I wanted to take it all off again and redo the fiberglass. At this stage, I had acetone in my hand, and stupid me, I bumped the acetone over and it landed on a different part of the board and destroyed the rest of the paint job. So I ended up having to take all the paint off the board, which really pissed on my battery. So anyway, took all the paint off, it looked great, redid the repair, re-put both layers of fiberglass on, and then repainted it, and it turned out way better because I didn't rush the sanding. I sanded properly. At this point I was very happy with it, but I had done a very stupid mistake where I had noticed my paint job was starting to peel. So I couldn't figure out why my paint job was starting to peel, and someone told me that I hadn't prepped the area properly, and I was like, I really prepped the area properly. Like, this board is now giving me the shit, so I'm sure I did. And I made a real rookie mistake and jumped the gun and sprayed some gloss paint before I put the actual paint, which caused the spray paint to peel. So third time going into it, I had to resand and repaint and eventually got it looking great. Then it was time to clean the board up, get all the dust off, and re-wax the board and send it back on its way. So things I learned was, don't rush the process. The process is there to the process is there to guide us and make us get the end result, and rushing the process, you just end up messing it up. So don't rush the process, and the process is there to help us. And fundamentally, I'm very happy with the end repair, and I'm glad I've learned all my mistakes, and hopefully I can take that into the next repair.